The year was 2291, and humanity had finally stepped beyond its cradle. Faster-than-light travel, once confined to equations and fiction, had become routine reality. 12 settled worlds now orbited distant suns in the Orion Spur, connected by trade routes that pulsed with raw materials, data, and ambition. Mining stations clung to dead moons, orbital habitats glittered above hostile atmospheres, and humanity, still small by galactic standards, had learned to survive by coordination rather than conquest. Earth itself had changed. Nations still existed, but rivalry had yielded to necessity. A unified authority governed spaceflight, defense, and diplomacy, not because humanity had become enlightened, but because it had learned a brutal truth: divided, it would not last. That lesson had been paid for in blood across centuries of war, ecological collapse, and near-extinction crises. Peace had emerged not from idealism, but from fear sharpened into discipline. Humanity knew it was not special. It knew the universe was vast, indifferent, and likely occupied by forces older and stronger than itself. Still, hope persisted. The stars promised discovery, cooperation, and perhaps proof that intelligence need not always arrive as a predator. That hope shattered on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday at the edge of the solar system. Long-range sensors screamed as space folded inward. More than 100 massive alien vessels tore free from faster-than-light transit and drifted into precise formation. Each one dwarfed the largest human ship ever constructed. They did not fire. They did not maneuver aggressively. They simply waited, their silence heavier than any threat. Then came the transmission. It was calm, translated flawlessly, and unmistakably deliberate. The visitors requested diplomatic contact. Ambassador Mara Kale was chosen to represent humanity. She was 56, her hair threaded with silver, her voice steady from decades spent negotiating ceasefires between enemies who despised one another. She had seen cities burn and wars end on a single sentence. If peace was possible, she was humanity's best chance. The meeting was arranged aboard Earth's largest orbital platform, a symbol of unity suspended above the planet that had birthed them all. When the alien shuttle arrived, its surface rippling like liquid metal, Kale felt the weight of history settle onto her shoulders. Humanity had crossed a threshold. Whatever came next would define its future among the stars. When the shuttle doors opened, Ambassador Kale saw them for the first time. Supreme Adjudicator Threx of the Interstellar Assembly towered over her, his scaled body shifting between deep violet and black. 4 arms rested motionless at his sides. His amber eyes glowed with a certainty that felt ancient, practiced, and absolute. Behind him stood representatives of 7 other species, beings of crystal lattices, living shadow, and anatomies that defied human understanding. Together they radiated authority without warmth. Threx spoke without greeting. The Interstellar Assembly, he declared, had governed charted space for 200,000 years. Humanity's development of faster-than-light travel placed it under Assembly jurisdiction. Kale inclined her head respectfully and replied that humanity was honored, that it had long wondered whether it was alone. Threx corrected her immediately. This was not a greeting. It was a notice. A hologram ignited between them, translating unfamiliar symbols into human language. The terms scrolled endlessly. Humanity would surrender 70% of all extracted resources. All technological advances would be shared freely with the Assembly, with no exchange in return. Human military fleets would be reduced to a symbolic presence. Assembly overseers would be stationed on every human world. A one-time tribute equal to 3 years of Earth's total economic output would be delivered immediately. Threx described these terms as generous. Most species, he said, surrendered far more. Kale listened without interruption, though something cold settled in her chest. She asked what would happen if a species refused. Threx's expression barely changed. Refusal, he replied, was obsolete. Corrective enforcement would follow. Worlds would be erased. Survivors scattered. Compliance across the galaxy was universal. Humanity had 60 days. The delegation departed as calmly as it had arrived, leaving behind the silent shadow of an armada that made resistance seem absurd. Within hours, the truth spread across human space. Fear took hold, raw and paralyzing. Parents held their children tighter. Colonists stared at stars that suddenly felt hostile. Humanity had imagined first contact as wonder and discovery. Instead, it had been handed a collar. Yet beneath the fear, something else began to surface: anger, memory, and recognition. Humanity had seen this system before. It knew its language, and it knew all too well how such systems ended. As fear rippled through human space, historians spoke openly, broadcasting images of ancient empires that had arrived with demands instead of dialogue. They showed conquerors who called domination order, systems that survived by convincing the weak that resistance was impossible. One historian addressed billions with a simple truth: humanity had built such systems once. It had suffered under them too. And it remembered how they collapsed. Behind closed doors, military and intelligence leaders reviewed classified data. Humanity had not been blind. For years, anomalous signals had been intercepted, patterns quietly studied. Admiral Lin Park addressed the Strategic Council with grim clarity. The assembly was powerful, she said, but stagnant. It had not fought a real war in 40,000 years. Its fleets existed to intimidate, not adapt. Their formations were ceremonial. Their crews had never faced genuine resistance. Humanity was outmatched, but the assembly was brittle. The debate in Geneva was fierce. Some argued for compliance. Survival, they said, mattered more than pride. Others rejected that logic entirely. Delegate Nia Aero spoke for them. If humanity accepted these terms, she argued, it would not survive, it would endure. Its children would inherit obedience. And when the demands inevitably grew, humanity would be too broken to resist. The vote was decisive. Humanity refused. Factories retooled overnight. Defense networks activated systems never used beyond simulation. Fleets repositioned. And a message was prepared, not just for the assembly but for every species living beneath it. On the 60th day, High Arbiter Zurith returned, confident and alone. Envoy Mara Isla stood waiting. She informed him that the transmission would be public. Zurith welcomed it. Public compliance would reinforce the assembly's dominance across the galaxy. Screens ignited. Isla spoke calmly. Humanity, she said, had reviewed the conditions. And it refused. These terms were not unity, they were domination. Humanity would not pay tribute. It would trade as equals, share knowledge with those who reciprocated, and accept no foreign authority over its worlds. Zurith hissed in fury and promised erasure. Perhaps, Ilis replied. But this message was not only for him. Turning to the cameras, she addressed every species listening. Those who had paid tribute for generations, whose worlds had been stripped, were not powerless. Earth would trade with them, shelter them, and stand beside them. The age of obedience, she declared, ended today. The shockwave spread faster than any weapon. Across distant systems, tribute shipments halted. Factories slowed. Entire species began asking questions that had once been forbidden. Then came the war. 3,000 assembly warships advanced toward human space, the largest armada assembled in 40 millennia. Humanity met them at the Proxima Gate. The assembly advanced in perfect formation, confident and rigid. Human ships scattered. They struck from shadows, from asteroids, from folded space, from angles the assembly had never bothered to defend. Missiles vanished into darkness before detonating inside command nodes. Communications fractured. Within an hour, 400 assembly ships were gone. Then the defections began. Entire crews powered down weapons. Others turned away mid-battle. Species that had served the assembly for thousands of years refused to die for it. When assembly forces opened fire on deserters, the illusion shattered completely. Humanity struck the flagship. Boarding teams breached corridors untouched by war for ages. Commanders who had never imagined defeat died in disbelief. The armada collapsed not from overwhelming firepower but from fracture. By the end, fewer than 800 ships remained loyal. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as tributes ceased and worlds declared independence. The assembly retreated to its core systems, its authority broken. Humanity did not replace it. Instead, it offered something radical: trade without coercion, defense by consent, cooperation without tribute. 1 year later, representatives from 37 species gathered above Earth. They had been told resistance was impossible. Humanity had proven otherwise. Applause thundered through the chamber as a legend spread of the young species that refused to kneel. Of the day fear lost its hold on the stars. And when the universe demanded submission, humanity answered with a single word: